Hello again everyone, hope you're well. As most of you who've watched my videos before will know that I'm constantly complaining that my craft room is a total mess and I can't find anything. So I've been working on making some storage. Now this is a little tray that I've been meaning to have another go at for a while. I have done one before. It comes with this base and this part, which as you can see ends up being like a pen pot type of thing that goes there. Now to stop the sides sagging out, it has a little wooden frame. Decided to give one an ocean theme, so I've got shells, I've got beads, I've got some bigger shells that some of these I've probably had since I collected them as a kid, to be honest. So we've got some bigger shells, and I've also got over here some real coral sand. I have used sand off various beaches in Wales and Cornwall and places like that before, but it doesn't look as light and white when you get it home. So I thought we'd get some actual coral sand. This is the stuff they put in the bottom of marine fish tanks, so that's what we've got to put in here. So we're going to go for a nice ocean themed little tray with shells, pearls and so on. Just thought that'd be a bit of fun, and we'll have a little pot to go on there, and then I should probably make some little pots to go on here, or maybe glasses. So let's get stuck in and have a go at this then. Okay, so mixing the resin up here. Now of course these moulds will be face down, so what I'm going to put on first will be just a good layer of clear resin. The base is going to be almost completely solid sand anyway, but in this one we're going to put some clear in first and let that really sort of thicken up, and then I've got some completely transparent pigments, proper resin pigments, that I'm going to put in and just give it that little hint of blue. I'm going to build it up in layers though, so it'll get bluer and bluer till it gets down to the bottom. Still only faintly blue because I don't want to lose the pearls and the shells in it. So that's what's going to happen there. So I haven't got my little resin matte base handy to put my stirry stick on, so hey, that's how it goes. I'm just going to slap it on the mat. So in here I'm just putting a good layer, fairly thin layer, in of the actual resin, and there's going to be no sand involved just yet. This is the layer that's going to be basically like water, and the same in this little guy. So this is going to take some patience because I'll need to build it up in layers. Right, I'm going to leave that pot, that's handy, isn't it? Leave that pot there like that. Now, this one, I'm just going to make sure that that's covered all over. So I'm going to go right up and around into the corners, and there we are. So that's now all over. Now what I want to do is get some of that pigment into it. There's little bubbles popping here, as usual. I stirred it a little too vigorously. You don't want bubbles, stir really slowly. However, a big flat area like this should degas quite easily. Now I'm going to mix up a little bit more of the resin. This time I'm going to go for just, I don't know, 20 millilitres maybe. Just a little bit. I'm just wanting to get a bit of that blue colour into it. Now I don't want to mix it all through. I want it to kind of swirl a little bit. Oh, there we go. Yeah, that should do. So I'm going to get mixing that, and I will find these. There they are, the transparent, completely transparent pigments. So I like to give it a bit of a stir first before I start putting the pigments in, although the pigments will help us to see when the resin's properly mixed, so it is quite handy to put them in fairly early on. Now let's pick a colour. These have only just arrived. These are a completely new pigment to me, but I think we're going to use this one called Forget Me Not. Just called Resin Colorant. I'll put you the link for these down below as well. And then if they're any good, we can all get some, can't we? Now, let's put my sand out of the way so I don't knock that flying. And we need, obviously, a pin to make a hole in the top of this, because they're brand new bottles. So pop your pin in. It might pay you to put a tissue around the top or something. I'm just going to put my fingers around it so it doesn't spray everywhere. There we go, that succeeded. I just got a tiny bit on my gloves. So I'm just going to put one dot in first. I used to think that you had to cut the ends off these little bottles, by the way. I think it was Daniel Cooper's videos. If anybody hasn't seen Daniel Cooper Creations videos, have a look. They are pretty amazing. He's quite an artist. But he demonstrated how you actually open little bottles with a pin. I thought, haha, that's why I'm getting it everywhere and getting my drops too big. So, you live and learn. Well, that's a pretty shade of blue, isn't it? Now, because there's a fair bit of resin in there, then obviously when that is spread out thinner, it'll look less coloured. So let's have just one more drop. But yeah, it's stayed nice and transparent, and it looks to me as if that is pretty well mixed now. It's gone nice and clear. I'm not seeing any streaks in it, so this is looking good. And what I'm going to do is just give it a spritz with some alcohol to just help those bubbles on the way a little bit. I'll do the whole thing when it's all settled too. Now this is going to have sand on the back, and I don't want it to be overwhelmed with the blue, so I was just going to drizzle a little bit of blue like so, and probably just at one end. Now that may just all mix in, I don't know, we'll see. But I did only want a little hint of colour, and mostly just at one end, so like that. Okay, and then the sand will just be over the whole back of it. So let's see how well that goes. Similar sort of effect in here, only with this one, of course, I'll be building up more layers and more blue. But I did just want to kind of have blue at one end. It may all just mix in. We may all end up with just one big blue blob tomorrow, I don't know. I say tomorrow because as I film this, it's quite late evening. And of course, I'm going to be giving this a chance to dry overnight to cure. Now that blue's quite a bit stronger in this because obviously there's more thickness to it. Let's just put the last few drips into here. There we go. Waste not, want not. Yeah, I don't know how powerful that blue is going to be when it actually comes out, but you can see in here it's starting to swirl around. That's kind of what I wanted. I might actually, yeah, I'm thinking out loud here. I'm going to make up a tiny drop of white with some alcohol ink, I think, because that's quite opaque. And maybe do a bit of a swirl at the other end, just to add a bit of interest. This will all end up being, well, this will anyway, end up being top coated because I want to put the little shells and things on the top. I want them to stand proud from it, and I want to mix in, so yeah, coat them over with some resin. So here we go, just mixing up a little bit more resin. Just going to grab myself, oh hang on, there's a white pigment in this. Well, that won't be see-through, will it? So I'm just exploring this new set of dyes, and the white is actually very very white. It's opaque. I suppose it would have to be, because if it wasn't opaque, it'd be see-through, invisible, wouldn't it? Oh, yeah. Just excuse me while I talk to myself. So I'm going to put a few drops of that in here, and we'll see what happens. I wonder if it's a sinker. I wonder if it's actually like a sinker alcohol or something, rather than a pigment. Don't know. It's acting like a pigment. Now, there was a little bit of the blue in the pot still, so this isn't going to be absolutely white. It's going to be softened. There we are. So what I'm going to do now is put just a little bit of it at this end. Like so. Let's have a little bit more. So this is going to be a bit like doing waves, but backwards, isn't it? As you've seen the watery lace effect of waves. Yeah, it's going to kind of be a bit like that. Now I'm going to need to blow that to get it to kind of blend across and spread a bit. So I'm going to get my little blower. I'm not going to use a heat gun, just because this is a new gadget and I want to try it, right? That's okay, isn't it? Apparently it's the world's smallest leaf blower. Oh, it works. Isn't that great? I'm just going to mess about with this a bit. Just want to give it a kind of a bit of a watery effect, that's all. I'm loving the little tiny leaf blower. Looks like a leaf blower, doesn't it? And I'm not going to turn my heat mat on into this. It's warmish, coolish. It's not that warm in this room at the moment. I think I kind of want the resin to stay thick. That's one of the reasons I didn't want to use a heat gun on it. I kind of wanted it to stay a bit thick so that the colours stay put. This I want to kind of blend over a bit more though. Now I'll do the same sort of thing in here, which is a bit difficult because it's kind of down the sides, but yeah, just give it a bit of a splosh around. And I'm hoping it will stay put, so that we've got very definite white bits, blue bits, clear bits and so on. Just want it to look a bit watery. Not quite know how to explain it really. There we are. Now obviously, because I'm doing this, this is the back I'm working on, I'm not going to try and get any fancy lacing effects or anything. And it is going to go over sand, so this is going to be quite a subtle effect. So I'm not being too fussy. Just having a little play. I like that. Well done, tiny leaf blower. I'll put you the link for these, actually, because that's rather neat. It's just just plug it in and recharge it. If you don't want heat, I think that's just the job. Looks like the nozzle comes off as well. There we are, me and my gadgets. So I'm going to put the tops on these. You know what, I'm thinking I want a bit more colour at this end, so I am going to just put a dot and do a bit of this. There. Now hopefully that'll stay put, so we just get a bit of a sort of a stringy colour running through it. Nothing too dramatic. Usually I like a bit of drama, but with this I'm kind of going for the opposite. So yeah, once this is done, this is going to be my another attempt at tidying up my stuff. I could do with something around where my little table is, where I have my laptop to put my pens in. So that's what this is going to be for. Right, I'm going to be patient now. I'm going to leave this until morning. So in the morning we'll go in with the sand layer on here. That's just going to be one solid layer of sand mixed in with the resin, so I'll show you how to mix that in to make that work. This one will build up a bit more of the blue. That's going to be quite strong. But we'll start to introduce the shells and things, but most of the shells and stuff are going to end up on this base here, so I'm only going to put a bit in here as probably the final layer, maybe with a little bit more sand or something. So we'll see how that works, because it's kind of funny trying to work upside down. But there we go. I'm going to just spritz everything with my alcohol spray, get those bubbles clearing, and leave it overnight. So see you in the morning for the next bit. Oh, it's back. Everything seems to have cured. Yay! Now, I've got one of these deburring tools. This is new. I'd seen Steve McDonald using these, thought must get one. Then saw Claire recently, Claire's Crafty Corner, using one, and thought, oh yeah, that's what I meant to get. Anyway, so I've got one. Now, can someone tell me, is the end meant to carry on twizzling? Because I can't work out how to lock this in. I've twizzled this bit. It's got a little collar for releasing it. I don't know. Anyway, what can I say? Yeah, that's good. That's very good. So, Steve McDonald's Arts and Crafts, Claire's Crafty Corner. Thank you both. Finally got one, and if you can let me know whether that end's meant to do that or not. Right. So here we are. Here's our little tray. And I am pleased with that. There's a couple of patches where the UV resin that I used to do the final coat with, it's still a little bit sticky, but I'm going to just sort of leave it on the windowsill to finish curing for a bit. That's probably the easiest way to do it. So there we go, onto the windowsill. And I'll just leave that over the day. Right, now, so this is this little mould, if you remember, came with the little wooden frame. You know what? It's still very slightly, I can fingerprint it. The other side should be fine though, and that's going to be the bottom. Came with this little wooden frame to stop the sides flopping about. I've got a few things that really could do with a wooden frame, so I think I'm going to make this one of these for a couple of the tray moulds I've got. Anyway. Oh, this is looking as if it's worked. The sand has probably gone in a few places I didn't really want it to. Don't think it matters though. Don't forget we've got waves bashing backwards and forwards. Things will be moving around. So it's, oh look. Now this mould, because it's hollow in the bottom, you know sometimes pot moulds are hard to get out. This one, and I've done this before, you can do that. Actually, can I use the handle of that? What can I use? Oh, a pen. There we go. You can do that, which starts to free up the mould. You can then get your pen back out. And you can go all around like that, you see. You can see I've got a little bit of edge tidying to do. I'll sort that later. Right, that should have made getting it out of the mould a heck of a lot easier. So let's flip it all inside out. You know, some moulds like to go inside out. And then we just go like that. Bit of brute force on the last bit. Oh, I'm liking what I can see already. Come on, you can do it. But you know what, some of those bits of sand are still soft. Push again with a pen. Yeah, these are a bit of a devil to get out, to be fair. But doing this makes the world of difference. There we are, look. And now it's loose, I can push the rest through. Obviously being careful not to use anything that's sharp to do so. It's just the rounded end of a pen. Oh, look, I'm really pleased with that. Yes, you can see lines where the different layers of the water's gone in. But that doesn't matter, that's fine. And yeah, I think despite having been overnight, this is still slightly sticky. Again, doesn't matter, I'll just leave it to stand, it'll firm up, and it is meant to look like a beach after all. So yeah, what's happened here, you can see the sand has sunk in that final layer. So I've got another layer below it, it's giving it kind of a weird effect, which is nice. You've got the splishy sploshy waves coming through. That was what they meant to look like anyway. You've got a few beads floating, a few shells floating, some sitting onto the sand. All in all, quite a pleasing effect. So once this is all set up, this is what we're going to end up with. Like so. Isn't that lovely? So what I'm going to do is make a couple of little pots to go on the ends. Will these fit? Yeah. So if I use that mushroom base as I suggested, I'll use the same process as I did for this, and therefore we shall have some little pot to go on each end, and job done. Really pleased with that though, that's lovely. And so simple. I'm not going to leave it on there because I bet this is still slightly soft. So I'm going to leave that up that way to finish curing off. Leave this on the windowsill and put the first layer of resin into the first one of these. First of all, bit of mould care. Let's put this back to normal. Again, if you want, you can use your pen to push these back through. Don't leave moulds like the wrong way through. I found that it doesn't do them a lot of good when you come to use them again. Sometimes they're fine, sometimes they're really not. So pop them back through the right way and give them a clean up. Now, this one isn't going to take much cleaning, is it? Again, I can just use my pen to push it back through. There we are, and it just pops straight back through. Yeah, I think just a bit of a go around with a wipe in this and it'll be clean again. We'll come back to that. I'm going to leave this to cure. I'm off to the Motor Museum for the day. So anybody who's visiting the British Motor Museum over the next coming months, look out for me. I'm the middle-aged woman. Am I still middle-aged at 50, nearly 56? I suppose. Anyway, I'm the only middle-aged woman on the museum assistant team. So if anybody's visiting the museum, say hello. I will have my badge on, Tracy, obviously, so you'll know who I am. Right, I'll see you for a bit of a show off when this is all finished, probably. Right, here we go. Demold time on these last parts of my little jigsaw. And what I do, some moulds can be quite difficult to get off, can't they? This one I've got part way down. It's being a bit tricky. What I've got here is just a bit of sudsy water. It's actually antibacterial hand wash in this one. Washing up liquid works well as well. Sometimes if a mould is really difficult, then I will actually put it in the sink and demold it underwater. Sudsy water. Just your ordinary, fairy liquid. Other brands are available. That sort of thing. It just loosens it. Some people I know will use their alcohol spray, but I find this works because, there you go. And then these sort of moulds that have got like an inside section, let's dry it up. Yeah, there's an inside to make it hollow. Once you've got it to this stage, it's quite easy because you just squeeze it and you twist and out it comes. And there we go. Just dry him up. So with this one I did the same sort of process. I can see like the sand has drizzled down into it. I don't think I waited for that layer to dry much, if at all. But you've got your there's a rock pool type of effect. So quite pleased with that. I shall just sand or get my deburring tool on the base. Right, this one I did use the base of the mushroom mould in the end. Looks like that's worked quite nicely as well. Got some sandy gone down into the corners, down where it shouldn't, and some bubbles. Yeah, it's looking quite sort of aquatic, let's say. So let's put just a little bit of... The only thing we're using one of these needlepoint bowls to do your sudsy water with is, of course, just being careful not to scratch your mould in the process. But it does mean you get it quite well down into the sides, and then if you go around like that, just to let the water move around inside, it should pop away quite easily. And in fact, there you go. Oh, that's done some funky things. Oh, look at that. Yeah, again, I didn't let that layer dry properly, cure properly before I put the sand in. So the sand has moved around inside, but I rather like that. Especially it's gone into circles there, isn't that weird? But you've got your waves splashing on the top, got a couple of shells going up the sides, there's a string of bubbles, which actually in this sort of water theme seem appropriate. So now I'm going to dry these up and I'll get a photo for you of them all on the little tray. So people think a bit broadly, yeah. Bit of lateral thinking with your mould. You might have bought a mould that makes a mushroom, as this one does. If any of you haven't seen it before, there's one of my videos where I make a mushroom lamp and make bits of it glow in the dark and all sorts. But there's a mould for the top that goes on it. But don't forget bits of your moulds and, you know, combine them as well. But there we are. So yeah, just going to sand that off, smooth that little edge off, and then I'll do you some photos and we're done. So thank you very much to those who have watched this video. Hope you enjoyed it. I certainly found this one extremely good fun to make, and it is helping me to organise all my stuff because I am making storage for myself here. So if you haven't subscribed already, please do, and if you hit the little bell down here, it'll also tell you when I've got another video coming out. If you would drop me a like as well, hit the little thumbs up for me, that would be very much appreciated. And also do leave me some comments below. What do you think of this as an idea? What do you think of using this mould as just a pot rather than the base of the mushroom? And what do you think generally of the whole little combination storage thing that I've made? Be lovely to hear from you, and thank you very much, folks. I will see you for the next video.